Hello, folks. Mystery Race Night. We're gonna play Gunner's Heaven, also known as Rapid Reload.
We got one of those for you.
Yeah. 5 players signed up for this one. And I've got them all up. I'm ready to go.
All right.
PlayStation 1. This is the Japanese release.
I'm going to tell them to go to their character select screen, and then I'll give them the countdown. We're going to give them 30 minutes on the clock to see what progress they make. This is the Japanese version, so it's actually infinite continues, which means that, you know, we'll probably see some good progress, I would imagine.
Oh, that's nice. It's just better then. I see. Yeah.
Yeah, the European version changed it to... The PAL version's like 9 continues, I think.
Okay, so Media Vision is Wild Arms company, so yeah, I guess this is related to that. They look like characters with that art style, but they aren't the characters I know from the first game, and I've never played the others, so yeah.
Yeah, this came before Wild Arms was released, apparently, from what I'm reading.
Wild Arms is like a cowboy-themed RPG.
So many of our players just got baited by the standard mix-up that in Japan the circle button is the OK button, and everywhere else the X button is the OK button, and everyone pressed X to start the game and went back to the main menu.
How long are we giving them for this?
Half an hour.
I'm starting that clock. We are pulling audio from the first player there, and off the fourth one, so let me move that over too. But yeah.
So I had some fun playing this. I got through the first 2 bosses at least. Didn't take too long. It's a pretty standard run and gun. It's got a lot of the features that you would expect from one that is trying to shore up their mechanics. So things like being able to lock yourself in place so that you can use the D-pad to actually control your aiming properly. Multiple levels which you can jump between, and there's also a grappling hook that you can use to latch on to the upper level if you want to. There's these pickups that enemies drop that are like a power meter, but it's not like an amount, it's a time. So it adds time onto a clock for how long your gun is just stronger. There's also a little dash mechanic. You can crouch and press the jump button and you'll get a little Mega Man X dash, which is pretty nice.
Area boss.
Overall, I was pretty impressed by this one. I didn't really know what to expect, but it played really nicely.
Looks like it's got a bunch of cool mechanics, and yeah, there's no reason on earth this didn't come to America that is good. Whatever the reason was, it was wrong. This sucks. This sucks to see this kind of game and be like, oh, I should have had this. Didn't. Thanks. I took a long time before I got to play any Gunstar Hero-esque games at all, like 2010 maybe, before I finally got a hold of one that I actually played through, because they were just not on any system I had.
It's a cool laser gun that Patty's using, or was using for a moment there. Yeah, I wonder if Sony was upset that people were using the PlayStation hardware to make 2D games. It's like, no, you're doing it wrong.
I had a couple. I had Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Legacy of Kain, Alundra.
Yeah, there's quite a few really popular ones. By contrast, the N64 had almost no like actual 2D games, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if it just like if the development kit for it didn't really support making that easy to do.
I can't even think of any. Ogre Battle 64, maybe, kind of, sort of. It's 3D technically.
Yeah, I was thinking specifically about what's the name of that? Mischief Makers, which might be somewhat 3D. I mean, it's a 2D. It's 2D gameplay.
Man, look at these bosses. I want to be the... What is that? The British flag on this mace robot? Area boss.
The Empire always wins.
It's too bad because the PlayStation, with its new hardware, obviously gave a lot more space for this kind of art than the SNES ever would have allowed.
So our players have already gotten past how far I tested very quickly. Granted, I was trying to figure out the controls and write them all down so I could give them to the players, but clearly they are doing quite a bit better than I was. So if we're going to see here on Tarragon's screen now, the continue system is actually quite generous. Basically, the last boss you beat, that's your checkpoint. And, I mean, you fight bosses regularly enough and you have infinite continues, so it really feels like there's not a lot of penalty for making mistakes.
Is this 2 players? Does it let you do both at the same time?
Let me look. I'm not sure if it has a 2-player mode. Let's see. Looking at the controls, I'm not sure that I see anything about 2-player, but I wouldn't be shocked if it supported it.
What?
Darkman says single player only. Okay.
I'm just gonna go start playing every game by this studio. I'll tell you, they all look so ridiculous. I'm gonna put a game called Crime Crackers up on the screen. It's a first-person 2D shooter mystery game or something. Look at this. What is this? What the hell is going on? I gotta see more of this later. I'm putting that in the backlog.
It was called Crime Crackers?
Crime Crackers.
Alright, well, I'm gonna write that down too, because that looked cool.
And Wild Arms 1, I'm playing through it right now. It's one of my favorite old PlayStation 1 RPGs. It's got really nice sprites, and it's an action RPG until you get into the random battles that, honestly, if you just cheat those out of the game, you would still have a game behind it, so I like that. That's unique. I had never seen an RPG doing action before, but they do have like boomerang sort of puzzles and things like grappling hook is a weapon you can get and do things with in that game, so they have things like that in it. And it's still a pretty good RPG, so I like Wild Arms 1. I'm trying to play through it right now. I've never actually finished it because it's so long. And then they have 3 or 4 more Wild Arms games also to do on top of that. There is so much gun variety here.
Yeah.
I grew up with Contra, so the Gunstar Heroes is a completely different vibe. Same genre, but not really. Like, it's the same genre, I guess, like in the same way that Mario 64 is the same genre as Crash Bandicoot.
Right, yeah. They're theoretically the same genre, but the similarities are few.
Wild Arms 1 has a remake too called Alter Code F, and I don't know if that's the PS2 one you're talking about, Ty, but I have not played any of those now. I just want to finish the first one and get something done. I gotta get through. I know enough of the plot that I want to see it resolved.
Alright, Patty Beast finally getting past the second boss. It was giving him a little bit of trouble. The problem with the second boss is it's pretty easy to avoid most of the damage, but there is one spot where he does a little explosive attack that throws a bunch of shrapnel at you, so if you enter that fight even a little bit low on health, all it takes is one of those to knock you out. So glad to see Patty Beast getting past it. This area seemed a little less troubling for our players. three of our players are already on to, I guess, the fourth segment if we're measuring it by bosses.
Yeah, you know what? That's right. Suikoden is another PlayStation 1 RPG that is pure 2D, like in an extremely 2D kind of way. And I love that game too. And yeah, that one is getting an HD remake with its sequel, which is a very, very popular one, Suikoden 2. I haven't played that one yet, but I sure am buying that. Mario RPG coming out next week, and then whenever that's out, these are the games I'm into, man. Forget other game. The game of the year is the one I played in 1995.
You gonna be streaming the Mario RPG remake when it comes out?
Yeah, I sure will
Very
be.
nice.
I don't play that one as much as I that one really is a special game to me. It's like my first RPG ever. I played it a billion times. I don't really light that fire the way a lot of other people do, so you might not recognize me as being as big a fan of it as I am, but I really am a
Sure.
huge Mario RPG guy. I really like that game a lot.
I mean, I feel like anyone who's played it, it's kind of hard not to love the game. I mean, I'm not saying everyone has to like it. I'm just saying, like, having just recently played it for the first time this year, I definitely can see why so many people are huge fans of it, whether they talk about it a lot or not.
It's definitely a point where I knew every single thing about that game, and I didn't have no guide to help me. I found every single hidden box all on my own. Like I just found which rooms had the thing. At the end of that game, you get a thing that lets you beep when you walk in a room where one of the hidden chests are. And I went through the entire game after getting that, and there's a couple that you can't even get before you have that. Like you have to just like they're permanently missable. So I learned that they were in there somewhere, and I made a save, and I just ran in there and checked every single place it could be. Found the damn thing without a guide. What a pain. I played that game so much. I had to have everything. And I still don't think I found everything because of the 100 jumps in a row being so hard.
Yeah. Hey, I consider myself quite a capable gamer, and in the amount of time I gave myself to play it, I still didn't get the 100 super jumps. So, I mean, that is a very demanding task for a player.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I've heard from people is that while the Woolsey translation comes in for quite a browbeating sometimes, I think it's fantastic, and from what I've heard, the translation's the same, but with some minor changes, little improvements here and there, like Cola is finally called Coca-Cola, like it always should have been.
Yeah, you really dropped the ball on that one. This is a pretty tight level here in the swamp. There's a lot of stuff coming out of the water that seems hard to deal with.
Yeah, this level seems like quite a step up from the previous ones. Every other one, it was just like mowing down dudes, and this one, you got giant armored bugs popping up from the water.
I think I can get Ted Woolsey onto Arcade Pit. Let's see if I have any connections yet. I like this. This game's graphics are so solid. There's so much art.
Yeah, they feel really polished. I think that's one of the things I really love about PlayStation, like 2D PlayStation games, is that the art's really polished and you finally get to combine it with like fewer technical limitations in Red Book audio, so it really feels like the pinnacle of what 2D is capable of, at least for the time period.
I've seen some of these bosses in some form or another in Gunstar Heroes Genesis. like the snake, the way it's designed.
Right.
That's a Genesis style way to do sprite work. I would say the bigger problem, I mean, if it's even a problem, because the game is so easy, and Chrono Trigger has this too, and almost every RPG I've found, especially by Square, the UI does not tell you what the hell these things do. Ever. These items, like these accessories or these armors, it's impossible to tell. I just went through FF5 translation, though, to be fair, but there's so much information missing on the UI, and it's all important stuff. Thankfully, Mario RPG was always so simple that it didn't really matter. I wonder if they fixed any of that. Especially in lieu of the randomizer that does fix that and tells you every single thing.
Yeah, I imagine that the text descriptions will get improved quite a lot.
Chrono Trigger is one of the worst Woolsey offenders. Just like a move called Confuse, it's Quad Strike, and none of the moves that have magic on them say they do. And all this important data is missing. And then there's an accessory that says ups attack power, and it's actually like double damage across the board. Like, it's just crazy. Way out there on what it actually does. That's right, Confuse. Attacks with Confuse. That's the full. That's all the data you get. It costs 15 mana, and it attacks with Confuse, and that's all you know. You try it.
Woolsey's just looking at the original text and it's like, I can't figure out what this thing does. I'm just gonna call it this.
I think Digi and Patty are in the lead here on this boss, but I'm not 100%.
Yeah, Rob and Tarragon are both on the same boss. I think it's the boss before the one Digi and Patty B's are at. Dude is now at that same boss Tarragon and Rob are at.
Yeah, the game dev crunch never was not a thing, even in the 90s, so Woolsey's translations are the product of having like a week and a phone call. He might have just said he was confused on the phone and somebody wrote it in as the move name for all I know. I don't know why that happened, but basically everything that we know about our favorite games were done in a week.
I think it's unfortunate though that like so many of his translations take such a beating in the modern era, because like while the data might not be good, I thought his writing was very good in the games of his I've played.
The writing was better, honestly, than the original text. I've seen them both. I'm like, it's just a better spin on the story. There's more data.
He was a funny guy who did some pretty good writing, and like, sure, maybe they should have vetted the item descriptions, but I'm glad he wrote for them.
I think it's because I think Chrono Trigger in particular is a story that I think it takes itself seriously a little bit, but it's a frog and a caveman and a robot on a team saving the world from a beetle from space. So you can't take it too seriously, and I think that is captured well with Woolsey for the most part. I think he does a good job. So the Mantis was the current trouble spot here.
Oh yeah, you're saying the Mantis was the later boss, not the earlier boss. This one does seem to be giving our players a little bit of trouble.
I found that this kind of 2D combat is hard to do. Like, it's what I always wanted out of like a Castlevania game and stuff. And then when they started doing that, and not Symphony of the Night, because that one's piss easy, but all of the ones that I've been trying to persuade you to play for a couple of years, those ones are really into this, and they are super hard.
Which ones?
All the DS-Manias starting up from them,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
they're all nightmares of difficulty, and the Game Boy Advance ones as well, for that matter, are no friend to the player until you learn how to do it. I think Dude might be in the lead. I haven't seen this part before.
It does seem like it. It seems like he's skating away with it.
One of the best aspects of Frog is that he's the only one who talks like that. No one else on all of the planet at any point in time talks in Old English. I have not played Bloodstained, or even seen it really. I've been meaning to. I know it's the same devs. Portrait of Ruin is so good. If I'm into Castlevania, I usually just play that one again. It's so big, and it's got so many modes, that by the time I get through it 3 or 4 times, I'm good on Castlevania for another year. And if I want a randomizer, Aria of Sorrow has... I would say that Link to the Past has the best one in existence. Aria of Sorrow is a close runner-up, though, and Super Metroid, if you're into Metroid, obviously is good, too. I don't know that that one works as well, though. In my head, the way the logic pans out, the way the maps get built and stuff, Link to the Past really nails something, and Aria of Sorrow does a really good job as well. There's randomizers for so many games, but a lot of them it feels like it's a forced kind of thing, and it doesn't really feel like that. And Aria of Sorrow feels almost like it was designed that way.
Nice.
And the DS version of Aria of Sorrow, Dawn of Sorrow, is a very, very similar game. It's not the same game, but it's got a lot of the same themes and some bosses.
Our players are down to their last 10 minutes. Seems like most everyone is right now hung up on this
Lightning Mantis.
Mantis. Dude, in the meantime, though, on this very cool action chase sequence, kind of. So I think, if my count is wrong, and if you're in chat and you've been doing a better job counting than me, please correct me. But I think Digi, Tarragon, Rob, and Patty Bees are all on the 6th boss, and Dude has moved on just past the 6th boss. I haven't seen the next boss on Dude's screen, so I don't want to say 7th boss, but I think Dude's on the 7th section.
I gotta admit, I'm not a huge Metroid fan, never was. So that's probably part of my bias against Super Metroid, but I don't feel like you get a ton of cool power-ups in that game. Like, you get the screw attack, you get a hook shot eventually, high jump, I guess is one. But compared to, like, Link to the Past, that's gonna be my default. You get so many more interesting tools in that to work with, and I think that's why I think that it's not as good of a randomizer. A lot of the tools you get are just more missiles over and over again, and stuff like that. So yeah, knowing secrets and speedrunner tricks probably helps a lot. Rob has beaten the Mantis.
Rob and Tarragon just both got past it pretty much at the same time. So we got Rob, Tarragon, and Dude all on the 7th section. Digi and Patty both on the 6th section.
Maybe it's the huge sweeping map that turns me off too, because I sure don't know it, and it's not a like super lively world. It's okay. It serves its purpose. I think it's a very good game for what 1991, but I'm not super into it, and I've never actually played the other ones though. Metroid Prime series sure looks cool.
I really enjoyed the Metroid Prime series. I think you could enjoy those.
Those are a whole different wheelhouse. I think that's more.
And that's Patty just getting past that boss now too. Only Digi left on the Mantis boss. Everyone else has moved on to the next segment. Yeah, other people will disagree with me, and that's fine. They can have their opinion, but I think in the year 2023, if you're going to play Metroid Prime for the first time, you should play it with Prime Hack, the emulator mod that allows you to play it with mouse and keyboard controls, because it makes it feel like a really modern game. It's a little easier. I mean, admittedly, it definitely makes an already not terribly hard game a little bit easier, but it also feels really fun to play.
I think that I bought it on the Wii store or something, and I can't access that anymore, so I just, donated $45 to Nintendo. They needed it. But I'll buy it again.
Dude and Tarragon are already at the next boss. Patty is on the tank, which I think turns into that boss, if I'm not mistaken.
Man, this game's nasty at this point. I feel like they're fighting that 7 force at this point. I would always lean towards the Switch just because I haven't really been like... When the Switch first came out, I was taking that thing everywhere, and I guess I don't go too many places now that I have my own place. I just live here, hang out and play games, so I'm not into the portable thing as much, but I usually would prefer it on the Switch, even if it meant no mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I played it later and they changed how that worked, but with Prime Hack on 3, they really just changed the waggles into like a single button press, so you didn't have to figure it out.
I'm glad we have Infinite Continues.
Yes, me too.
There are 5 minutes left.
I do worry that this would probably be too hard without Infinite Continues. We would have not made substantial progress, probably getting walled by that that Mantis boss. Yeah, I'm definitely more of a Zelda fan than I am Metroid, in as much as you can compare them to each other. But I find Zelda to be kind of a more interesting world, and I agree with you. I think even for a randomizer, Zelda feels like it has a lot more flexibility. There's a lot of different ways you can solve individual problems, so it makes for an interesting randomizer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple places that I think are weak points, like the catfish and the other checks that just take like 5 minutes and they're just one item, in terms of Link to the Past. But otherwise, it's almost what I would call perfectly designed. It's almost like it was intentionally designed that way. There's just a couple things I would change if I were just making it specifically to be randomized. That wouldn't make any sense in context. Like, I probably wouldn't have them just have to have the hammer all the time for no reason. That's such an important one. It does change.
Did you move it on? All right, we've got everyone on the exact same segment now.
Incredible.
Like right now, if we were to measure who won, it would be a 5-way tie for first.
That big randomizer combined world thing is fun too. But I always end up being on Rogue Legacy in that, and I don't need any items to win. So I'm just doing like loops, and I'm just giving items to everyone else.
Yeah, Archipelago is pretty cool, but it's if you're playing one of the games that doesn't have a lot of checks, it can be kind of boring.
Yeah, Rogue Legacy is a game where you're supposed to need that stuff. It's nice, but it's not. I can win with the level 1 guy if I take my time.
Yeah, if no one beats this boss, then the order will be Dude, Rob, Tarragon, Patty, Digi, based on what order they entered this level.
This boss is a bit of a disgusting mess for surviving. Really gotta nail the jumps on this. Oh, VV shopping art. Thank you. Water in water. Bean water. Nice.
I'm rooting for someone to clear this boss, though. It'd be nice to see a clear on the boss that everyone's on right now.
It's flying form, I guess, is the injured phase, right? It's got to be over after that.
Yeah, I would imagine that the flying form is the last form here.
They melt through the health bar so fast. If they could just stay alive long enough, I think.
It feels like dude's got this.
It's so close.
Yeah, he has to have this time.
Area boss, dude, in the lead. Must feel nice.
Nice. Good to see. That makes me happy.
So no unlimited continues. They don't even give you a full heal after that nightmare. Like the Medusa from Hades.
What a cool little game this turned out to be.
PlayStation's hiding the good stuff. It's got the power, if this is all you're trying to do with it, to really have some fun things going on. It's a console with so many options. Time is up. That was the mystery race of Rapid Reload, Gunner Heaven. Sequel to Crime Crackers and prequel to Wild Arms. Well, not really, I don't think actually associated with those worlds, but nevertheless. I see the art style, especially on the cover art of the disc and stuff. Very similar vibe.
Well, that's our game. This one was a lot of fun. If you enjoyed watching this, I really enjoyed it during my testing, and the players are all talking about how they enjoyed playing it. So, go play Gunner Heaven, Gunner's Heaven, Rapid Reload, whatever you want. Try it out.
Yep. Thanks for joining me out the blues.
Yep.
I'm gonna find somebody to host over to. Have a good night, everybody.
Later.
PJ is playing the Pixel Remaster of Final Fantasy 3. I'm gonna check that out. See you later. Good night, everybody. I will be on tomorrow, probably with Wild Arms 1, because it's time to continue that journey.